Should be. Oh yeah, should be going live. You're live, it says. Just waiting for confirmation. Where is it? Oh yeah, okay. Sorry about that delay, everybody. Yeah, welcome back to my channel, Intuitive Insights in Tarot. Before I bring Josie on, and we're going to be doing readings for you. Um, and I would like to ask for donations. I have my Buy Me a Coffee link in the description. And Joe and I are going to tag team these questions for you. First, I'll do a tarot read, and then he's going to come in with his astrology. So you put your question in the chat in all uppercase. Add your birthday, the time you were born, if you remember it, and where you were born, along with your question. And if you could please send a donation to my Buy Me a Coffee, like $10 is suggested. Um, Also, I am available, very available. I've got nothing booked this week, so I'm wide open for personal readings. My fee is $75 for an hour and a half, often runs over because I like to chit chat a lot. Sometimes I can go 2 hours, depending on my schedule and how things are rolling. However, if you mention that you heard it here and you met Josie, Joseph Zappelli, I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, his last name right. Anyways, if you mention this show, I'll give you a $10 discount. So it'll be $65 if it's your first time. If it's your first time with me. Okay, that's enough of that. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Joe. Joe Z. Hey Joe, how you doing?
Good. Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, you are
All right.
live. Welcome to my
Beautiful,
channel, Joe. So
man. First,
first, let me tell people a little bit about like how we met.
sure.
So most of my viewers know that I took a vacation a couple of weeks ago, and I went down to Hua Hin, where I have a friend down there that I met years ago, Damien. And Damien says to me, "Hey, I got someone here you have to meet." And he's like, he reminds me of you. That's what he said. And then he told me that you're an astrologer and you have some psychic gifts as well. Would you describe it as psychic or a seer? How would you describe your gifts in that area?
Yeah, seer. I like seer because gifts are gifts are cool. Everyone can have gifts, right? And maybe
Hmm.
my gifts are like just a pretty, like I got a nice pair of psychic binoculars. So I have like,
Hmm. I like
maybe that's,
seer. And
yeah, that's kind of
you
the,
actually that was how you described yourself to me when we first met as a seer. And I did that. Remember when I did a reading on like you and I started talking about getting together and doing a show together like this, where I do tarot and you do astrology and maybe some insight from your own ability. And I pulled some cards on our possible getting together, and maybe I can. No, I can't pull that up right now. I don't know where that is. Anyhow, you came up as it was so wild because I came up as the what? Do you remember?
it
Or
was
do you have that? Can you share that screen?
of the, I don't think I
But I
have it.
remember you were the star, and it said like gifts, spiritual gifts.
Scott was, you were another arcana, right? You were a
Yeah,
major arcana.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the high priestess.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
It was super
I'm going
cool.
to give you permission to share screen. Okay, you got it. Anyways, you don't have to share right now. Yeah, it was so wild. Actually, let me see if I can
Yeah, we
do
had
this.
Star, High Priestess, and
I've got it here. I can pull it up here. I just don't.
where's
I just can't. I don't have it on my computer, but I do have a picture. That picture on my phone. It's on with us.
but you had a major arcana, I had a major arcana, and then there was a major arcana in the middle, like, yes, do this. It was like the Two of Cups or the Two of Wands or something like that.
I've got it here.
That's cool.
Um,
That's a good idea to take photos of all of your readings. I do that with my astrology. I obviously am not a
I
tarot reader.
do.
I
I'm
wouldn't.
just really bad at sharing things easily on the computer and remembering where I save. So I'm just not a good tech guy.
We can work on that.
I've got
Hey,
it
buddy.
here.
That's cool. Stacy,
I
hi,
don't know.
Stacy.
Yeah, Stacy's my moderator. Okay, this
Cloudy,
is
Los Angeles.
that was
Thanks. Yes. My name is pretty
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. That's right. Okay, so I was the five of cups over here, and this was just after I had like this split from my other partners that I used to do every Sunday night.
There's
So I
another.
was kind of out on my own, and you're the Ten of Pentacles and the Father in the middle. And I said to you, oh, I think we were brothers in a past lifetime because we have this
Oh,
Hierophant in the middle,
the second top one. Mhm.
not Hierophant, Emperor in the middle. He's the Father, so Father from past lives. Then Pentacles, Pentacles. And what did you say about that Nine of Cups in the past?
The Nine of Cups is in. All right, there's like a lot to it. So nine is one of the most, call it spiritual numbers. It
Yeah,
connects all the planes. It connects uh, it's the best number. All right, we love this number. So, but this card and the gentleman sitting in the middle represents in one area of, like, I guess you could call it tantric spirituality. Is this immortal being, right? And his name is Lucy. He's got this big long beard and this funny hat, and he's like the giver of gifts and information and the Akashic records and everything. So the cup of nines is basically like, anything you guys want, here you go.
yep,
Anything,
yep.
fill the cup.
Yeah,
Oh, with
you
that,
you had mentioned a council of nine too, and you said like we had this approval. Okay, but then so under my card was the high priestess, and under your card was the star. And so this is someone with spiritual gifts, and this is someone who is able to contact their higher self. Has a very so. Anyways, and then the ten of cups in the as the outcome, which is
yeah,
like this new beginning and yeah. So, anyways,
it's perfect.
so I would like for you, Joe, to introduce yourself to the audience a little bit.
Sure.
Tell us like where you're from, what brought you here to Thailand, because yeah, you live here as well.
Cool. Thanks, Scott. Yeah. So, everyone, my name is Joe. Last name, we've been kind of fighting over that pronunciation forever. And so, yeah, it is a kind of cool last name. In Italy, it would be Zappile, right? Zappile,
That's
like
yeah,
cafe.
yeah,
I'm from
exactly.
Jersey. I'm a Jersey boy, and the Jersey Italians were Zappelli. Hey,
Right,
Zappelli,
right.
classic Jersey Italians. And so then the way, kind of, my father were from the Naples, lower, whatever, Italy. It's Zappilli. But my background is also, I'm a linguist. I went to school for language and culture and acquisition of second language. And I looked at this name and I could tell that there was something off with the phonetic count and the sound, like the vibration literally of the name was not correct. And that's why everyone was like, that name sounds kind of funny or is kind of weird. And I was like, yeah, it kind of is. So I'm going to go kind of forward and then come back to your question real quick, Scott, is
Okay.
I do live in Thailand. I've been here for 7 years. I came on a trip to a wedding. One of my best friends was getting married in Chiang Mai, and so now fast forward 7 years. I have a son and a wife, and here I am, fully, in the culture. And in the Thai phonetic alphabet, they could not reproduce the name Zappile. It just doesn't exist. So
Right.
my son got to be Zappile. And I
Yep.
was like, thank you. Oh my God. I was so happy. And it literally fixed part of my brain because my whole life I was like, my last name's weird. It doesn't make sense. It sounds odd. So then now all of a sudden, if I want to like, hey, is this your son? And they look at his ID, it's yes, I'm Joseph Zappile. This is
Mhm.
Ryan Zappile. And I love that. It's like, it's a
Yeah.
perfect, it's got two syllables, it's broken nicely. And that's the kind of funny story of the name. So yeah, and then just I guess that also answers part of the Thailand question. Is I came on for a wedding and somebody turned me on to a really awesome degree program in Bangkok, and then COVID, and then life, love and marriage, right? And the whole thing kind of takes off from there. So yeah, that's what I've been doing here for since 2016, 17. That's where I started my journey here in Thailand. So that kind of answers that. And so grew up in New Jersey. Scott, what else where would you like me to start as far as bio? I moved from New Jersey to Colorado, so maybe my accent is kind of this neutral, but you'll hear me kind of fall into a little bit of a Midwestern kind of accent. That's from 7 years in the Midwest, and I went right from Colorado to Thailand, and I've been here ever since. So that was 27. So if you know anything about the magical 27, Scott, do you know about the magical 27 in astrology?
I do not.
Okay, so a little tiny astrology blip of awesome information. At 27 years old, we technically have kind of recycled our whole molecular, spiritual, energetic body. And at the same time, it coincides with Saturn returning to the position of where it was when you were born. So they
Okay, I've
call it
heard
your
of the Saturn return.
being. That's exactly it. So it happens at age 26, 27, 28. And usually that's where we kind of spawn in a new direction. And so I moved here almost exactly before my birthday. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is perfect. How else to spend my Saturn return than to fly across the world and isolate myself from everything I've ever known and start a whole new life. So it's been
I
really
know what
cool.
that's like. I did
Yeah.
it. I did it at 40. I
There's
wish
another
I
one.
wish I had come when I was
So,
27.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Hey, we
All right,
get where
so
we're
so let
supposed
me
to.
ask you some questions so my audience gets to understand a little bit who
Yeah,
you are.
sure, man.
First, I'm going to ask you, are you awake? And let me explain what I mean by it. First off, what does that mean to you? And let me tell you that most of my viewers would describe themselves as being awake, and that
Hmm.
most of their friends and family are sleepers. And I think most of them, not all, but most of them would tell you that they were woken up by the CV-19 that happened that started in a couple 3 years ago that woke
Sure.
them up.
Makes a lot of
Um,
sense.
a lot of people say that the events of September 11th, 2001 woke them up. Uh,
Hmm.
so what what's your take on this whole the Great Awakening as it's being called?
Um, in my kind of lineage of philosophy, right? I always wanted to be enlightened. Had
Okay.
this idea. I was
Me
like, I
too.
want to be enlightened. I want to float and disappear and all this stuff. And
Right.
uh, it just as you kind of do the practices, you realize like I don't even know what this means. I don't even know where to start with this enlightenment thing.
Hmm.
But then this idea of awakening does happen, right? And my experience, and I think the experience of others, is awakening is literally a process in which you become aware of the whole world, of things around you, yourself in the world. And I think you could make an example of like, you know, going through a convenience store and kind of saying like, well, that's not good for you, and that's not good for you, and that's not good for me, and that's not good for me. Meanwhile, there's like a 5-year-old smacking things off the shelf into a cart. Just like, yeah.
Good
So
analogy.
we kind of just become more of responsible. I like this word responsible for the grief in our life. We become more
Yep.
responsible for our field, our energy field, how we affect other people. That's a big part of it.
For
And
reality, can I just interject?
sure,
That's
sure,
a great
please.
point. And
Mhm.
reality on a whole, a lot of people claim to become the victim. Like, this has happened to me. The society is so bad, and why is this happening to me? But we are responsible for this reality that we live in, right? So I'm glad you pointed that out. Okay, sorry to interrupt.
No, it's cool, Scott. I'm reading some of our chats too.
Oh,
Not the
good.
best multitasker, but I'm gonna get better and better and better.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay. So, I hope that answers part of the question. I think to bring it back to CV19, these very specific events, sure. There's absolutely a million reasons why an event would bring somebody's conscious awareness awake to life and to things, for sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
I agree
Yeah.
with that.
So, where were you on September 11th, 1999, and what did you think about that whole thing?
Um, I know
Wait,
where
wait,
I was.
wait, before I, so I'm getting, I love looking into conspiracy theories, right?
Yeah, sure. Great.
And so like one of the first ones is, let's start with the moon landing.
Okay.
Did you ever do any investigations on that? And
I've thought about it a lot. Sure, it's older than me. It's been around for a very long time. Um, actually, well, so Scott and I, we've been talking what for 2 months now, right?
yeah, yeah, we don't really,
So
we haven't
obviously,
had a
had
lot of
it's
time
come
to
up, but
talk.
we haven't really time to talk about it. So
Yeah,
actually, what's funny, I came up with something that I thought would be really great that I would share. I was going to share with you on the phone, but I just I thought now would be just even a more awesome
sure.
uh, idea. So you just bear with me one second.
Okay.
Read the question one more time, please, and then I'm gonna add to it.
Well, so first of all, let me tell you what I think being awake means.
Okay,
And
great.
and this is something that I was saying for a couple of decades, and it's this: are you willing to accept that everything that you've ever been taught is a lie? And I was saying that for a long time, and I had some very closely held beliefs, such as we went to the moon
Mm,
and the Earth was a spinning globe, things like that. And those were beliefs, and they were beliefs because I had no way to prove them independently that they were
sure,
true.
yes.
But they were beliefs that I held onto, but they were very close to me because I grew up on the Space Coast and I watched the Apollo missions, and I was a huge fan of NASA. Um,
Interesting.
so when I was in a break room at a school one time, and these couple of young British guys, um, when I brought up, watching Apollo missions, they go, "Oh, that's fake. We never went to the moon." And I got all triggered, and I'm like, "Yes, we did. I watched them." And they're like, "Really? You watched them? You were there?" And that made me think. And then I went home and got on my computer, and I'm like, "I'm going to prove this." Fast forward several years of trying to prove that we went to the moon, and I became convinced that we didn't go to the moon. So,
Yeah, sure,
what do you
sure.
think? Did we go to the moon or not?
All right. I gotta say, I think not. I really don't. I really don't. And the reason I say that, and I'm saying this with like my personal conviction, just because I'm gonna share my screen. Yeah, can I share my screen?
Yep.
All right, and I'm sharing. What's the best screen to share? I guess would be any of them, right? Okay. So this is what I was thinking would be really funny, and then I was going to send to you anyway. So I just brought up like Rome. How cool! Rome is great, right? And anytime you do this, people take pictures and they put up their pictures of Rome and they put up their pictures of wherever they go and blah blah blah. Why don't we have more than like 7 pictures, dude? If we've gone, why haven't we gone back? Why haven't we taken more pictures? Why
Hmm.
hasn't there been other things to be done and seen? Like, this is a picture of a highway. There should be tons of pictures of people standing, walking around the moon, doing things. And they're
Hmm.
just not there, man. So, I mean, get a Google map and take out your iPhone next time you go to the moon because I haven't been there yet. So
Yeah.
I would love to see some Google points on the moon. That's my Joe joke of the day because I haven't seen it. I haven't been there. So
Okay.
yeah,
So, and you've told me that, I mean, like, you've never really looked into the whole flat Earth thing. And when we met that first night, I remember I kind of bombarded you with a lot of that.
mhm,
And
mhm.
you didn't react like a lot of people do. You didn't call me crazy or uneducated or, telling me to go look at NASA pictures or something like that. You just
Yeah,
said,
no.
okay, yeah, you were open to the idea. So that's when I knew we could be friends. The fact that you're just open to the possibility that everything you've ever been taught is a lie, right? All
But
right.
incorrect.
So so there's a whole now explain to my audience why maybe you're not up on things like that we all think we know about, like, for example, and this is the way I'm going to explain this.
Sure.
Have you ever seen the movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
Yes. 5 times, 6 times, seven
All right,
times.
so you know the scene when they get that drug that they say came from the pineal gland of
Right?
some a human, right?
Yeah.
I'll say the word one time: adrenochrome.
Yes.
Now, have you heard about the trafficking in human trafficking and things that are done to small people, young people to get this? Do you know about that?
I have thought about it. I have tried to possibly research. I no, I
Okay.
don't.
So this is what I mean. Like, um, this is kind of common knowledge amongst my viewers that
Mm,
there's a cabal of
mhm.
uh, of powerful beings who are in control of this earth. We talked about this. You and I talked about this a bit. Um, and they worship Satan, and they traffic in young people, and they make this stuff and they get high on it, plus it keeps them young. Like, you ever wonder, like, that
Well,
guy, who's that counselor for the president? He's been around forever. Jesus, what's his name? Kissinger. Kissinger's like 100 years old, and he never seems to get any older. And it's like, how do these people stay alive? And
it's like,
like these
dude,
like
look younger than me.
and like movie stars. What? How do they look young for so long? So anyway, that's just something that you never got into, because like your explanation to me is like you came to Thailand and you just kind of tuned everything out and you were living your life,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, sure. Absolutely. And even before Thailand, I lived with Christian brothers in theological seminaries. I wanted to study theology. That was for
Oh,
years
great.
years. Before that, I stayed in a Hindu monastery on Hawaii for a year and a half to study Hinduism. Before that, I lived with another kind of commune style spiritual group.
Hmm.
So I just thought, like, if I want to find some answers for things, I gotta go in here, you know?
Inside, yeah, I
Yeah,
appreciate that. I really
yeah,
do. But so
focus.
I wanted to get this out in the air because I wanted my audience to understand that you are, I would use the word enlightened, and I, I and you are awake and you are open to new possibilities.
All
Of
the time.
you
100%.
don't feel like you know everything and like that.
No
Okay.
way.
Um, so and by the way, I find that very refreshing that you're not part of this. There's this whole truther community that's sprung up in the past few years. I mean, I've called myself a truther for my whole life.
Mhm.
Like when I was 12 years old, I was an insomniac, and I'd lay in bed and I used to pray and I'd say to God, God, I don't want to be rich. I don't want to be famous. I just want to know everything. I want to know the truth about everything. That was my prayer when I was 12. So I've been a truther my whole life. Um, when I was 19, I was given a revelation from my higher self that I was living in the end times and that I was going to be here to help people through it.
Brilliant.
Um, so I was so happy when, believe it or not, when the CV-19 thing happened, because it woke up all these people. Suddenly I had all these people waking up and joining me in this realization that we're in a spiritual war, and that yeah, we're fighting against evil. And but I like that, though, that you're aware of it, but you're not like, because I'll tell you, the truther movement got really messy in the past few years. There are people infighting, calling each other names. There are people who are gatekeepers, who are there just to steer people in the wrong direction. There are people in it just for money, who plagiarize, and then they sell books, and they're selling all kinds of things online. Um, and so I've always
Oh, that's a
considered
huge
myself
problem.
kind of outside of that circle, because I was in it before they came in, and so they've joined me. That's the way I've always looked at it. The truther movement has joined me. Okay, and I'm sorry if that sounds arrogant or egotistical or something, but I've been I've been on this path since I was 19. Okay, so that's 40 years.
Mm.
Um, okay, and so it's refreshing to have someone like you're unadulterated in a way. Like you haven't been influenced by a bunch of different teachings or beliefs, and you've got your own views and your own. So I like that you bring that to the table.
Yeah, and I think to add to the your awake comment and with more of like understanding what you mean and like 'cause, yeah, I've been outside of this American kind of society for a long time. Um, awake to truth. Yeah, seriously. So when you mentioned CV19, when you mentioned 2001, like there's a logical part of the brain that just says like, no, and that doesn't make any sense. To me, that's a part, that's an awakened person can just look at the situation and say, this doesn't make any sense. Sorry. There needs to be more information either given or we're not getting told everything that needs to be there. That's a good, for me, a good example of an awakening person. Sure,
Mhm.
definitely. And I like to try to stay outside of any one way or another in any direction, because then I really can't do my work as an astrologer. And that's like another big part of the psychology of astrology is if I have too much mental influence, it's going to influence how I read a person.
That's right.
And there's no way to be, really honest if somebody's like, I did this and this and this and this. And it's like, okay, now let's look at your chart. Oh yeah,
Right.
you're right. No, that's to me, that's not truthful. It's not honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking about your charts, and I would like to start taking questions from the viewers. First, why don't you give an example of how you work? You did a chart on me. Can you share that a little bit?
Uh, yeah, I can share that. So let me make sure I got the right one. So
Oh,
I
and
can.
show that diamond just blew me away that
I
came up.
was thinking about it this morning. That was such a deep dive. I'm not actually. I think I could find it. We will get there. I think better. I just start by like explaining, astrology and how I work with it and what it what it really means, right? So I'm going to start with your chart, okay, Scott?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. So let me just pop
So
pop.
this will give people a good taste of how you work, and
Yeah, exactly. So here we go. Great. So what you see here is what we call a natal chart. So when Scott was born, um, above and below him were stars, planets, asteroids, things of different nature. And we have this funny that you talk about a flatter than the circle. Right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a thing.
Listen. You speak in your cosmology, okay? If I know you don't. Anyways, yeah, and you take it as a globe. That's fine.
I don't actually, but
Okay, we'll
okay.
get into that later.
We'll get into that later. So anyway, this is what's going on in the bigger organisms, if you will, of influence when you're being born, and to kind of read these charts takes time in understanding Greek mythology, understanding Roman astrology, understanding the Vedic and the Upanishads from India that are like 250, 400,000 years old. And what we kind of have seen and what we've kind of taken is the, if I can, let me see if I grab a tool here. Um, our symbols like Pisces, right? Aquarius, Capricorns. These were actually linked to seasons, things that changed on the earth wherever they were. And it became a way of seeing the cycle of the year as it goes. And then obviously this develops and develops and develops. Now, when a person is born and you look at their natal chart, what you'll see is that there's certain angles which connect. And as an astrologer, it's kind of our duty to understand Is this something that's going to be, let's call it a strength, or is it a weakness? Is it karmic? Is it societal? And as we understand somebody's astrology, we start to understand ourself like a lot better, right? So just in this case, and this will be, I guess, a live question for you, Scott, right? This is Scott's birth chart, and 10th house of Taurus is empty. So what I could say here, I would ask a question. Um, this would tell me something like you're probably only child. Is that possible?
No, no.
No.
But however, I always considered myself a black sheep and not really part of that family. That's how I always felt that way. So,
Okay, cool. So, and it's like it's almost not even about like the fact of being an only child. It's this part of the chart shows me this person isn't going to want to follow a group. They're
right.
gonna be really ready to be like, okay, what do I want to do? Who do I want to be? What toy do I want to play with? Because there is nothing there, so it's an open. It's like a blank canvas. And then it's the opposite when you get into
So,
where the
so would you say someone with this kind of chart would be single their whole life?
um. I mean, when you're a baby, it's really hard to tell. So
Oh,
that's like that's the other part of astrology. Let's see, in let's say this chart here, I do really extensive readings. This is mine, so then I think this is yours. Really extensive readings where it's literally year by year. What we say age, that's like the planet that is the most prominent. It could be the closest, it could be the farthest away, but there's a certain aspect where that planet's going to have the influence. So let's say Mercury is, we call Mercury the communication planet because it's a giant ball of iron. So it's like a radio. So Mercury, the age of Mercury, your age of Mercury is like you becoming aware of all these different things at a very early age.
yeah. Well, I learned to speak when I was 12 um 12 months. No,
One year.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I said my first words when I was 6 months. By the time I was 1 year old, my mother in my baby book said she was keeping a list of my vocabulary, and at 1 year, she's like, he can say everything. And I was a bit of a phenomenon. People would come to talk to me because I was basically a baby that could talk.
Everyone, come see the talking baby. Yeah,
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 yeah, I was kind of like that.
sure. So, and Mercury being one of the first signs or first ages would totally match that.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Communications, and then I became a teacher, an English teacher too. Um,
At 21.
21. What? Oh, yeah.
Yes or no?
What? My English teacher?
Right. Yeah. When did you become an English
No,
teacher?
no, not until I was 40 because even though I had this ability with language at a young age, I'm dyslexic, and so going to school was not something that I did well. In fact, I dropped out. So
Yeah, the Venus, that would make a lot of sense. Venus is something
now,
you love, and there's a challenge there with Saturn, but also Jupiter is a power planet. So following your passion despite the challenge
Hmm.
would be right there.
So, can you show me something about like my future? Like,
Sure. How far into the future would you like to go, Scott?
well, just this year.
Okay, so currently we're in 23. So it'll be, there's like between ages, obviously everything is in a cycle, right? So between 23 to 25, I would say probably looking at 2025. This is a short period, but it looks really kind of powerful. So if I can click that, if that's okay with you, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
Great. So this is like March 30th to October. So it's like 6 months. Ketu is a very, very prominent figure in astrology. We could talk later about that, but then there's a Venus here as well. So let's have a look at that real quick. So what would this look like, right? So now what it's going to show us is the natal chart on the side over here. Boom, here's your natal chart, planets, and then the transit of where they're going to be in 2025. Um, to talk a lot about the different aspects, the angles, you have squares, trines, sextiles. Oh my gosh, there's many different oppositions, conjunctions, retrogrades. These all play into different factors. Uh, but in this case, I would just say when you see a line that's cutting directly through a good number of houses, I would have to, do extensively a little bit more research, but maybe I would say that a part of so you have ascending, right, on one side and descending. Ascending is the life arcs, right? So your midlife crisis, whatever that is, Saturn return, and just basically looking at this right now, blue is always good, right? It's what we call a trine. So even if it's really tight, it's making a trine, which, as we know, you know, pyramids and all those things are powerful symbols. On the descending side of your chart, my assumption is some part of your life is going to really click. And then I could very kind of easily, because I've studied astrology for 17 years now.
Really?
I would want to dissect this, and that's what I would do with anyone I was doing a reading with. Is say, hey, this looks really interesting. Let's talk about this, and then we kind of open up that channel. Um, would you want to open it real quick?
Actually, I would like to open questions to the audience.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten any.
So here's those trines real quick, Scott, and for our viewers, I said blue is always good, blue is trines, and now here's a really clear table of those trines, and there's tons of them. So I would say, yeah, pretty accurately, in the next year or two, you're going to find some really, really solid peace in some areas of your life. Sure.
Okay, cool.
Cool.
So the way I kind of envision this is that we would take questions from the viewers, and
Mm-hmm.
they would also supply their data for the astrology. I would do a reading with the cards, and while I'm doing that, you would see if you could find anything to add to it from
Yeah,
the
it's true.
stars.
This is great, you guys. You
So,
guys.
haven't received any coffees yet for donations, but I would like. I'll Whoever, do we have any questions in the chat? So if you have a
Yeah,
question,
so Matthew put his birth date.
okay, Matthew is actually a huge supporter of mine, and he doesn't have to pay. So let's do Matthew.
All right, great.
Matthew has paid has supported me enough to where I don't need anything from him.
You're like,
So
exactly,
so
let's
yeah,
do
he's
it.
got his birthday in there, and what you need the time too, right? So
The time,
Matthew,
I need the time and the place.
time and place. And Matthew, if you have a question for me,
Yeah, we're gonna do the tarot as well. Super cool.
I'm just gonna do a general for Matthew. So Matthew
Great.
De Gregario, okay. I'm just gonna do a general reading for you because this is gonna be like an example of how I would like to see this go for the show, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's
Um,
awesome.
and Matthew is a great candidate for just a general reading of what does the universe want to tell Matthew right now. And while I'm doing that, Joe is going to take a look at his natal chart and see if he can fill in any blanks. So bear with us. This is the first time we're doing this. We're learning as we go.
It just takes a minute to punch in numbers for me. Cool. Thanks, Matt.
All right, I'm going to put my camera down. Okay, Matthew, what does the universe want to tell you at this time in your life right now? Okay, Matthew, wow, coming up is the Two of Cups. Temperance, transformative. Three of Cups in the past. And the star in the middle. Wow, this is looking very interesting. Three of Swords. So first off, when you come up yourself as the Two of Cups, this is regarding your relationship with yourself. Okay, so like your higher self, and also it looks like you've gotten to a place in your life where you're comfortable with yourself. You don't necessarily need a partner or like a best friend. Doesn't mean you don't have one, but you don't need somebody to make you feel like you're complete. And with temperance, and this is a time of transformation from you. So alchemy is a good word for this. Combining things to transform yourself into something greater than the simple 3D you, right? So you could think of this as like in enlightenment comes to mind with the star, especially, um, and realizing that you're in the world but not of the world. And with this comes a little bit of maybe worry, like what's becoming of me? What am I becoming? And but you have to know that this is a necessary change, and it's gaining more knowledge, the Knight of Cups, and a deeper understanding of who you are. And with that comes maybe some questions and some concerns. Um, but like did I do things correctly, and am I doing it correctly? But you have to kind of let go of that and trust in your higher self, trust in your intuition, trust that you will have the answers for the problems that you are come up in your life, um, that come from within, right? So not looking to others for because and it's funny because as long as I've known Matthew, he's never really come to me for questions for the cards. He's working it out himself. He's going through this transformation himself. And and but it's really important that when as we get to know ourselves and we find things that maybe make us, question ourselves, that you've done the best that you can do, um, and to trust your higher self, trust your intuition. Okay. Do you have anything to add to that, Joe?
Cool. Nice. Um, I did two charts, Matt, and that's why it just took me a minute. So I think I'd like to just piggyback Scott real quick and show the current chart for you, because it's really cool. And it makes a lot of sense for what he's explaining. So looking here at this current chart, right? Um, as I said before, in Scott's chart here, you have the ascending kind of earlier stages of life over here and descending. And I'm not saying that they can happen back and forth our whole life, but when you start to see these kind of vertical lines, these are more or less saying like, this is the now, this is the time that this needs to happen or this should be happening. And as I said, the blue lines, those trines, triangles are very, very good. What I see here is you've got a Pisces is this little guy, and Jupiter, great planets together, really, really great planets together. And they are connecting to your natal sun. So, and your natal sun and Jupiter were like this close together in your birth chart. So, this is a sign of what I'm going to do is important and impactful and positive, really a positive thing. And I just want to also add that to this other trine line that goes directly across the chart to Virgo. And the reason I think that is important, right? So these are the nodes, the kind of squiggly looking guys. And the nodes are, I don't know how I would explain them in like another way other than they're like they're like if you walked to the North Pole and it was like, this is a this is where you turn right or this is where you turn left. They're very, very clear. And what I think is clear for me as an astrologer here, what I see is powerful sign with your natal sun being Jupiter, connecting to this node, which is like, yeah, this is it. This is the time. This is the thing to do. And I like that other chart that I showed before because it's a little bit easier to read, right? Because those circles are a little bit hard to read. But as you can
Yeah.
see, right here in this very straight line, you have all these awesome sextile, trine. This is all like right now, great things. Whatever you're thinking, do it. Like Mercury, Sun, you're supported. Sun, supported all the way. Mars, power planet, supported with your natal sun. Everything's on your side. Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then here's that one, what we would say is an opposition, is that node I talked about. connecting with the natal Jupiter, and that's always a good thing. I have my favorite analogy that I was given for a opposition, which is the same as, let's say, like a full moon or a new moon, is it's like a magnifying glass. It's like looking through a magnifying glass, and all of a sudden the picture is crystal clear and really big. And that's always really good because, like I said, it's a magnifying glass. It's going to be really obvious, really obvious. And that's the best parts of astrology, is when they're super obvious. So yeah, I think that's the now for sure. Makes a lot of sense. Anything I can add? I think I can look at the birth chart, but as far as looking at Scott's reading and what I can see in the astrology, is it's right on. It's totally right on.
I found it interesting. You mentioned Pisces,
Yeah.
and that would go with this card too. The Two of Cups is the card of Pisces,
Hmm.
basically.
Fishies are awesome. Yeah, we love the fishies. They're great.
Okay, Janet Sokolowski has her birth information there. Now, do you have a question for me, Janet, for the cards?
While you guys do that, yeah. I'm gonna stop share. Thanks, Matt. Really cool chart. Thanks for letting us look at it.
I think she's trying to figure out how to do it on Buy Me a Coffee.
Cool.
Oh, yeah, she wants to do something. So we'll wait for that. While we're okay, there I got it right there. So let me read this question from Janet. You've got her birth information there, right?
I'm gonna send these links to Scott, and he can send them to Matthew if you'd like to have a look at the charts. Is that okay, Scott? Because I don't want to send them on the chat as like private
Yeah,
information.
after the show, I'll send them on to him.
Perfect.
I don't see. Okay, well, Janet, yeah, I guess you can type your question in the chat, Janet. I thank you for the coffees.
I like coffee too.
That's my buy me a coffee, right? You know?
I mean, I'm drinking coffee, guys. I love coffee.
Yeah, yeah, me too. But these are virtual coffees. Do you know about that app, Buy Me a
No,
Coffee?
no, tell me about that, please.
Yeah, so I don't have a bank account in America, and
Mhm.
when they stopped PayPal in Thailand, I panicked at first. Because I had no way to get paid. And finally, after a lot of searching, I found this Buy Me a Coffee, and basically it's an app for people selling things online or bloggers, people like that. And one coffee is $5. So
Mhm.
a coffee is just a term for $5, and then you can use credit cards or debit cards or whatever. Anybody anywhere in the world can send
Cool.
you money that way. It's really convenient. And then to pay it out, you have to use something called Payoneer. It gets a little complicated.
Yeah, I got a Pioneer here.
Okay. Oh, all right. So Janet wants a general read. That's great, Janet.
Cool.
So
Jen, I'm gonna
all right. Let me
Jen, I'm
uh
gonna
let me
myself to
give Janet
31,
a
62.
general reading with the cards while I'm doing this. Joe's gonna look up your chart. Okay. Mount Clemens, Michigan.
Love Michigan. Beautiful state.
Not in the wintertime. I'm a Florida boy. I just can't handle the winters. Chiang Mai was too cold for me. Put it that
Oh my,
way.
you are a Florida boy.
Yeah, and then living in Thailand for 20 years. Okay, Janet, so this is for you, a general read. See what the universe wants to tell you right now. Thank you for your support, Janet.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thanks, Matt.
Okay, so Janet, what first? Two of Swords, Knight of Pentacles, Ace of Swords in the background. Oh, and Janet says, I'm told I have displaced blame for family issues, estranged from mom. See, she says estranged from mom, and this is what she's coming up with right now. That is very suitable. Now, one daughter with grandbaby. Okay, all right. So yeah, she's very hard. Um, I am told. I want who told you? I'm displaced blame for family issues, estranged from mom. Now one daughter. Okay, right. So this is a problem a lot of my viewers have because they're awake. They've become estranged from family members.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so let's see the outcome.
Hmm.
So right now, Janet, with this Ace of Swords, this is truth information. This is you becoming awake, and this awakening process is painful for a lot of people. Because of that very reason, it pits family against each other, and so you may have experienced something like that. Now you've become estranged, yet yet you're still loyal, right? And you're loyal. The Knight of Pentacles, he's kind of stuck. He's stuck because he's very pragmatic. He has done his homework. Is very careful about things that he believes, and you're never going to change, right? So once you know the truth, you can never change. However, you have to be careful about this information. Um, So with this Seven of Swords here, this is a strategy card. Not everybody can handle the truth, to quote a famous line. And it's better sometimes to keep things to yourself and just let people, if people don't want to move, if they're stuck in their ways, you have to leave them, to deal with that on their own, right? Because in the future, we are moving into a new world. This Three of Swords, he is looking out into a new territory. The world is going into a place it's never been before, and everybody's going to follow you. So finally, all these truths that you're learning will start coming out. Okay, not everything, by the way, because some things I think, like the what we talked about before, that substance that comes from young people, starts with an A and ends with chrome. Um, you Some of these things are too horrible for the world to know, right? They come directly from the devil. This is the darkest, the very deepest, darkest things that have gone on in this world. These things are not going to come out to light because I use my mother as an example. My mother couldn't handle hearing these things. Um, so so it's better sometimes to hold some of these things to yourself. And by the way, this is why, for example, I disabled my Telegram channel, because I had it open where anybody could post anything. And I'm trying to move away from this dark information. Okay, all of us, if you're watching me now, you're awake. You know about these horrible things that have been going on underground torturing of small ones and inappropriate sexual things and all kinds of horrible things. Okay. We don't need to be talking about this all the time. It brings our vibrations down. It makes us angry. Okay. Anger is not good. Anger leads to fear, and or it's the other way around. Fear leads to anger, and anger leads to the dark side. Okay. So it's time to stop focusing on the wickedness of the world and to start looking at the new dawn that we're coming into, the golden age. Okay, let's focus on the good, focus on the light. And you don't have to try to shock people into, waking up. In fact, that's probably the worst way to wake people up is through shock and just throwing out information that, about this dark stuff. Let's talk about the light. Let's talk about the wonderful new world that we're going to be living in, where there's abundance for all, and we'll live for hundreds of years and things like that. Anyways, what have you got there, Joe? Janet says, for 20 years since dad passed, I am loyal, love everyone. How long will daughter comes back? Okay, so I'm going to do this for Janet. So she's estranged from her daughter, and this is a common question I get from many of my clients. They're estranged from certain family members, and they want to know if those people will ever wake up and come back in to their arms. And I can tell you that I always get pretty much the same question. There is a great awakening coming where everybody will soon awaken, or they won't be able to handle it. And I think a small percentage of people will just like die of shock, basically, or they'll choose in some other way to leave this earth plane. Okay, so Janet, this is for your daughter who's estranged from you, and will she ever come back into your life? Okay, so the first card is you, Janet, the moon. Okay, so this sword in the middle here is a yes. Okay, and this is exactly the kind of card that I would expect. The King of Swords. So this could be the emergency broadcast where finally all the information comes out. So yes, and this is so common of what I get every time I ask this question, I get something like this. This is a truth giver. This is someone who has information and now he's able to give it to the rest of the world. Once these people who are sleepers and for example, people will say, well, I don't believe it because I haven't seen it on the news, right? Well, this is the news. This is that mainstream source. And a lot of us believe, Joe, maybe you don't didn't know about this, but a lot of us believe that we're all this information that all of us have spent hours and hours and hours studying is going to be compiled into 4 8-hour documentaries that at some point the whole world, the information, the all media is going to be shut down, the internet, television, radio, and then when it reboots, it's going to be running these documentaries on a loop for several days. So
Hmm.
people will not be able to run from the truth anymore. By the
That
way,
was
you're
great.
yeah, we've all been waiting for that for like 3 years now, Joe. So um,
I'm. Can
so
you guys?
so Janet's coming up as temperance. So Temperance is she wants to find middle ground with you. She wants to find a way to to get back together with you, but you are coming up as the moon to her. She's mystified by you. She doesn't understand you right now. She may be even a little bit afraid of the information that you've shared with her. Um, but you have a soul connection with her, with the lovers here. She's part of your soul family, and um, and she is your child, and so this is something that can never be severed forever. And once this information comes out and she starts to understand, oh, my mom isn't crazy, then of course she's going to come back into you. Okay, so come back to you. All right. So yes, there will be she will be back in your circle, in your sphere of reality. All right, Joe, what have you got?
Yeah, hopefully my screen is up and shared here.
Hmm.
This is, yeah, it's exactly what Scott is talking about. So you'll see I made a little chart here. This chart seems to be the easiest to see and understand, which is great. Sextiles, which look like the stars inside the little box,
Asteroids.
they are like this is 100%. It's like a crystal, right? So it's like a rainbow. It's happening. It's very prominent. And if you guys can see, and let me try to zoom in even more. Give me one sec. I want to zoom in on this because I think it's nailed on the head. It's really cool. And let me just make it bigger. Sorry about that. And so I'll draw the quick pick again. So you have these two sextiles, which are powerful aspects. That means like not can't ignore it, right? And what you have is you have Mercury, planet of communication,
Uh-huh.
in retrograde, moving backwards in Gemini. So it's like there's your Gemini, your daughter and you
Yep.
not being able to communicate, right?
Uh-huh.
And also, what I think is so interesting, what Scott said, and what you're telling us is these two symbols here. This is called Lilith, and this is Chiron. And these are the healers. There's a lot more about astrology we'll get into at probably later shows. But so Lilith is kind of the dark side of the moon, if you will. It's kind of like the thing, I wish it wasn't there, but it's there because it has to be. And it's connecting to the healer, which is like those two together. I know, yeah, Janet, this probably feels painful, but it's necessary.
Mm.
It's necessary. It's really necessary for you and maybe for her. Like I said, I don't like to give personal suggestions about people because I don't know. But as far as Scott's words is identical to what is here in the chart. And this is from the birth to transit right now, right now. So this is that right now. I want to answer that second question. So just take that in real quick, right? So Scott, what you said, and Janet, what you're going through, here it is, like for sure, for sure. And then that question you asked, when is it going to end? Wow, that was so interesting because it gave me time to look at this now. So this is what that chart looks like with the, let's call it the I don't, what is it? We could call it a healing wound. Let's call it a healing wound. You're going through a healing wound, and everything's on this one side of the chart. It's the side of Gemini, it's the side of Cancer, it's the side of protecting myself and making sure, hey, I gotta hold my space. But then what I did is I went 1 year ahead,
Mm.
and the chart literally flips. The exact same, get that out of my way. The exact same, you see this angle here? Let me get my pointer. See this angle here? Blue angle, boom. And that's why I said this is important. Even though it's not, it feels painful, it's really important. It's in this blue trines. And then literally 1 year from now, so this would be January 2025, that exact aspect transforms. And Mars connects to, this is what we call the midheaven, so that's like a major life chapter. You can call it a chapter. So this chapter connects to Mars, power planet, connects to, and then this is called a vertex. And a vertex is, I love the word quintessential. So a
Mm.
vertex is quintessentially like happening, you will know for sure how you feel, what you feel. This is going to happen. And to be honest, it's good. It's the opposite of this pain. That pain moves away. It's out of what we say is 2 degrees. So anything within 2 degrees will affect our emotions, our life, things around us. Within a year, 2025, it's outside of that range. So just look one more time at that transformation. Look at that. To me, it's so beautiful to see. Yep, I have to go through this. Doesn't feel good. Boom. Next year, shift. Huge shift. Beautiful shift.
Yeah, and if I could come back to my cards real quick, Joe.
Mhm. Sure.
Um, put this down. Can can you give me the screen back?
Yes, yes, yes. Sorry, sorry, sorry.
Yeah, so I heard you mentioning healing, and so yeah, this temperance, she wants that. Okay, she's
Mhm.
uh, but she's confused right now. She wants this healing with her mother, but she's confused on how to do it. But it definitely is something that will come in the future because we have this pentacles. So it's like getting back to her childhood, of where the child in her wants her mother back. And by the way, Joe, would you say that this the way it's painful now, but it had to happen? This is more karmic, right? This is pat from past lives. That's what I'm getting with this lovers here.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
this is not anything you did, Janet. So you shouldn't blame yourself. This is something that had to happen this way because it's part of your soul contract. It's part of the
Yeah,
karma that you both signed up for.
absolutely.
Okay. All right, that was fun. I think we're
Yeah. Yeah, I hope that was really good and helpful. Sure.
mhm.
Makes a lot of sense.
All right, and see if I. Oh, okay. Stacy, my longtime moderator, she's asking for a reading. So, Stacy, do you have any question in particular, or do you want a general? I'll give that a minute for her to listen and answer me. And I want to thank. Well, first, I want to thank Matthew. I think he may have gone to bed already because he goes to bed early. Last week, I thanked a bunch of people, and I forgot to mention Matthew. Matthew was there for me a year ago when I had almost no clients, and he was supporting me with donations, and he kept me able to pay my rent and things like that, and got me through those um, periods of desolation.
Mhm.
Uh, so thank you, Matthew, for your continued support. You're such a great person for doing that. Okay, so Stacy's question. January 20th, 1970. Oh, that's your okay. Bowling Green. I lived in Bowling Green.
Green.
She says, been going through it, big spiritual awakening. Spouse is not awake and not a good relationship. Yeah, I know a bit about her story, so I think I understand. Um, I understand what you're asking, Stacy, and I'll take a look at that. Meanwhile, while I'm doing this,
I'll be doing the other chart
just
on
going to
this
be
side.
chart.
Yeah, I've got a
So you're looking for things about relationships there, Joe, in that chart. Okay,
yeah, sure.
with her
The
her
current, I
spouse.
love the currentness of things. It's great.
Okay, and feel free to be honest, Stacy. I think she would appreciate that.
Yeah. Just trying to find where we're at here. Too many windows
Stacy,
now.
this is for you. Eight of Pentacles. Oh, now this is your spouse, Stacy, and the moon. Fear and confusion. Got that Nine of Cups in the center. That's what's going on between you two. And so this is kind of unfair because I have information about Stacy and her life events. And wow, Stacy, looks like you've been surprised by a twin flame or a soulmate or something. So now, if I didn't have this information about you, Stacy, I would ask you, hmm, um, have you recently met somebody else who like you have feelings for? And I would say the reason I'd say it's not your spouse is because he's coming up as the moon. He's confused and he's fearful of you. Um, because this is the way he's connecting to you is through the moon, and this is like he just doesn't understand you right now, and and the Knight of Wands, his passions lie elsewhere. In fact, it there might be some anger on his part or some very strong emotions uh, because because of this fear and misunderstanding, right? So then under you we have this Page of Cups across from the Two of Cups, and somebody new has come into your life, and it's surprising to you,
Pardon me.
right? And so let's see where he's going to go. I'm drawing more cards.
Okay.
So on his part, he the Queen of Cups, she's a bit overwhelmed by the incoming tide and overwhelmed by emotions, and these emotions are very well. The Knight of Wands is can be angry. He can be not someone who's willing to negotiate, right? And you notice this Ace of Pentacles is moving away. So I could see him eventually even being in a different house from you, like changing where he lives or buying a new house and moving on. Okay, so that's what I got. Now, I think Joseph got a phone call or something, but
Yeah, package came. Had to pick up
Yep,
Mr.
no problem. I'm reading Stacy's comment.
Yeah.
Oh, he is very angry. Okay, so yeah, sometimes this can be anger, but it can also be passion, like a healthy kind of passion. But when it's under the moon, this is something that comes from fear. Like I said, fear and anger, they go together. And then I said, well, where's this going to lead us? And this leads us to being overwhelmed by emotions. And this could be depression or sadness,
Hmm.
and this moving away. And this is actual physical movement, a place. Is he going somewhere, Stacy? Does he have any plans? I don't mean like leaving you, but maybe a business trip, or does he have to go live in another place or something like that? Yeah, Stacy, this is your twin flame, Stacy. Because I know about this. I'm not saying that she's not like in a relationship with this other person, but it's a twin flame, which doesn't not necessarily romantic. It's just these are two people whose karma has come together at this time.
Mhm.
And okay, well, yeah, yeah. Oh, you think he's leaving the Earth plane? Yeah, that could be. But I think that
Ooh,
he's going to move to a different home. I don't think you have to leave. I think he'll leave, but who knows? Anyways, Joe, what have you got for Stacy?
Yep. Looking at it, so I clicked a couple things, and then it kind of just popped up
Having
the
trouble hearing you,
double check.
Joe.
Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Anybody hear me?
The volume dropped. Looks like something changed. There you go.
Better?
That's better. Yes,
Sound
thank you.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, great. Something popped up while I was searching in 2021. Stacy, does that ring a bell at all to something in 2021? Yeah, 2021. Anything in 2021 ringing a bell? Oh yeah, okay, all right, really interesting. And if you're awake in 2020, would it be kind of safe to say 2021 would this other person, that's where the anger kind of started, or that's where, let's say, some of the trouble began? Could I say that?
There's like a 20-second delay, Joe.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
Hmm.
He's always been okay, okay, okay. So the only reason I say that, and it's interesting you say you woke up in 2021, because I'll show your chart here for 2021. The reason I brought up the anger thing, and maybe it's just like a super moment of that anger, because what you have, right, is this little one over here that I was talking about before, Lilith, right, is that kind of dark side of the moon, and it's making a opposition or conjunction with what I said before, is that healer. So there's kind of almost seems like a breaking point. Like this looks to me like I'm done. I can't I can't do this anymore, kind of thing. And this the only
That
and
would be
either
her part, right? Not
I would
not
say
his.
I can't say for sure. I'm just reading her
Okay.
chart.
Yeah. Right.
So then the only reason I want to say that is because midheaven is always, like I said, it's a chapter. It's either the beginning or an end, and that is making another opposition with my favorite planet of them all, Pluto. And Pluto in Capricorn is like, I'm doing this. I don't care. I know exactly what I want to do. I know exactly who I am. I know exactly how to do it. So it's almost like I'm done with this and I'm starting this. And this just like as I clicked, it just happened to fall on 2021 as being this sort of makeup. Uh, and I just want to just double check with you and get a close window real quick and have a look. Stacy, yeah. Feeling my sleep. Nice, nice, cool. So it looks like yeah, that 21 year 2020 2021 is really was really pinnacle for making decisions, realizing who you really were, and kind of sticking to what you thought is best, which is right. You know what's best for you for sure. um okay, and any specific month? So then I wanted to go forward. Let me just make sure I've got the right information, because now you're like lots of information. Usually I work on like one person because I'll pull up like 30 charts just so I can make sure I don't make any mistakes here, right? Because I don't want to do that. So just give me one sec to make sure I've got the right date. I don't want to pull up the wrong person's information, say the wrong thing. And this is okay. Yep, we got the right one. Let's go into the future. Slightly into the future. And I'll show you guys this. This is starting from January 2024. Okay. So Stacy, this is what's coming up now. Here we go. I'm gonna share it. Okay. So this would be, yeah, 2024. And I'll pull up this other chart. The aspect chart's a bit easier to read. Uh, Pluto making a conjunction with ascending. Yeah, man, that's it. That's totally it. That is great. So Pluto conjunction ascending. I could pull up an exact date for that. Literally, yes. And I would say that what I said before, there's that Pluto. I know who I am. I know what I want to do. And then ascending is that I'm going to do it, and this is what it's going to look like. And you've got it. It's right here. When is that exact date? So this will be Pluto conjunction, Pluto conjunction, Pluto conjunction, not the sun, no, Pluto conjunction, the transit aspects. If it will give it to me, bear with me. It takes a tiny bit of know-how to do all these things. It's a lot here.
Yeah, I couldn't do what you do.
It's so complicated. Oh my god. But it's great. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Here it is. Here it is. Opposition, right? Here's this opposition ascending Pluto. Does not have an exact time. So my assumption is anything happening at the same time, which if this transits on January 1st, January 1st, right? Let's go, yeah. because it's at 0 degrees. So anything else at 0 degrees would be would be shining the same light. 23, 42, March 28th, 23. Let's look at that transit chart. March 28th. We've been through that, so let's go ahead because it's in 24. So if I go 1 year, boom. January to March 24th. January to March 24th. Ascending trine sun. Yeah, okay. So the dates would be January 1st right up until March 28th. January to March. January, February, March. 3 months of powerhouse. You standing in your power.
Uh,
Mhm.
okay, we're gonna shift gears, Joe. I've got a question
First
from
quarter of
Kimberly.
2020. Yes, Stacy.
So yeah, thanks for that, Stacy. And Kimberly, could you please type your place of birth, um, date, and time in the chat on YouTube? And she asked me, I got her question here.
Am I sharing a screen right now? Let's stop that real quick. I am a teacher, guys. If you didn't know, that's my full-time job, an online teacher. Just checking my schedule, making sure I don't miss anybody today.
Oh yeah, we'll have to be wrapping this up pretty soon. When's your first class?
In about 40 minutes. 40
Okay.
minutes. I
Four?
can 40.
Okay. So Kimberly, thank you very much for the donation, Kimberly. And she says, "Does it look like I will meet anyone in the near future? I've been single a long time, and let me tell you, Kimberly, I as someone who's been there, I know what that feels like. Um, and my wife, actually, my partner, she's common law. We're not technically married because I don't feel like I need that
Mm-hmm.
government's approval to spend my life with someone. Anyways, she was 57 when we met, and she has been single her whole life and hadn't even had a boyfriend in 20 years. So I say this because it's never too late. Like, she never thought that she was ever going to meet anybody and fall in love and be in a relationship. She thought she was a confirmed spinster. In Thailand, I don't know if you know about this. In Thailand, if a woman reaches like the age of 40 and she's single, she's expected to stay single the rest of her life. It's like almost like it's against the culture for them to marry or something. If you've
Yeah,
been single till you're 40, you're supposed to stay like that.
you're like
It's also very unusual in Thailand, right? For a woman to reach
it's
that age and never been married and no children. And then she found me and she couldn't resist me. So so Kimberly, let's see what you've got in your future. Will you be meeting somebody while I'm doing this? Did you get did she type put her details in the chat yet?
no chart details.
Where it went. Oh, there it is. Okay. So yeah, Kimberly, thank you again for your donation. That was very generous. And thank you for watching for a long time, Kimberly, too. She says she's been watching my channel for a long time, and I really appreciate that. Wow, this is so interesting that you're coming up with the Queen of Swords here. Yeah, the Queen of Swords. Oh wow, Empress. Strength. Okay, and the Wheel of Fortune. So this looks like things are going to turn around for you. So the Queen of Swords, I would say, it looks like the reason you've been single this whole time. Number one, I think you may have been someone who's been taking care of family. Maybe you're a caregiver, or just, um, uh, or you have some siblings or somebody in your family who you've been very kind to them, and that's taken up a lot of your time and maybe your resources. So you've kept other people at bay. So the Queen of Swords, she uh, she doesn't let people into her heart easily. It's like she's very discerning and very maybe cautious about who she allows into her life. But so I would say that the reason you've been single isn't because men don't find you attractive, or your charisma. Is because you've had to hold people back. You're responsible for that. Maybe you don't realize this, but um, you were not in a place where you were ready for a relationship. But this changes as you come into the Empress. The Empress is seen as very beautiful and charismatic by everybody else. So this would make you more attractive, not just I think physically, but in you'll be able to draw people into you. Um, to do this, you have to put the sword down, and you have to be able to open your heart a little bit. So this you might be worrying, well, what if I get hurt? Or what if you're thinking about all the problems that can come if you open yourself up to love, right? So your advice is um, not to worry about those things. These are all problems that really, most of them, they're in your head. It's telling yourself, oh, I've been single for so long that maybe I'm not meant to be with somebody, or maybe nobody loves me. These are thoughts that you have to um, put aside, okay, and really see yourself as the Empress, as this beautiful woman who doesn't need another someone to make them whole, but is open to it. And the strengths that you have gained from this time of being on your own is actually the thing that is going to make you more attractive. So it's like the type of person you're going to attract is someone who isn't looking for a broken soul who needs to be helped. In other words, a healthy relationship. So two people who are who are in a place in their life where they're ready for that relationship. Um, this reminds me a lot of like the analogy or the description I gave of my partner. Those years of being on her own, when I met that, when I met her, that's what I was looking for. I didn't want someone who needed a man to take care of them. I wanted someone who was independent. She was her own self. She was a business person. She made her own money. She didn't need my money. So that's the person you're becoming, right? Someone who is comfortable with themselves, and then others see that, and then they appreciate that, and they want to be a part of that. So yeah, I would say, let me draw another card here. Yeah, and by the way, with this comes like a whole new family. When you meet somebody else, it's like when you get in a relationship with somebody and then they have children and they have another family, so you'll be getting like a whole new family uh, with that as well. So it can change your life very quickly. Like my wife now, she calls my mom mom, and she is accepted into my family just like she's one of us. So so yeah, maybe not in the immediate future, but at some point, yes, I think you will. I wish I knew. I wish I knew your age, Kimberly, because if you've never had children, and if that's something that you would like to do, then that's a strong possibility, especially with these two cards.
Hmm.
Okay, if you're um, of that age and you've never had children and you want to have children, then you could end up having quite a large family. But if that's not like my case, we're never going to have children. Um, then it'll be more like you're being brought into his family, and you'll find yourself a part of a whole new family. Okay, and this Joe, you give us what you got, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, because this will be 2.5 hours that we've been on, and I know you got to get
Unfortunately,
ready.
I don't have any. I didn't get any. I didn't get any dates or anything, so it's gonna. It would take me quite a few minutes to get things together. But yeah, I haven't gotten anything as far as dates from Kimberly.
Oh, okay, we didn't get that's right. Okay,
Yes, I think maybe it just wasn't supposed to be. And Scott, I think that's a great reading. It's something to go off of for her. Yeah.
yeah. All right, Joseph, why don't you give people your email or how they can get a hold of you if they would like to do get a personal reading from you?
Totally, that's great. I would love to, and thank you all very much. And Scott, thank you very much. I think working together, this is really cool that we can share and show that the cosmic alignment is here for us to help others and to help you. And I would absolutely love to continue and help others. So, Scott, I cannot type in the chat.
Mhm.
Um, can you make that happen? Is that possible?
Yep, I can do that.
Cool. So once he does
I
that,
think.
I can click in and type that info for us. So I do have a website. It's for my online school, but I'm going to link it to the last page, which is the astrology page. And so anyone can go there, and that will, it's called Astrologer's Corner, and it has a contact form, a little bit of blog info about my technical work, and sign yourselves right on up, right here. So, all right, let's see.
Oh, Stacy got your email in there before I could get it. So
I know
thanks,
that's so awesome. Thanks. That's so great.
thanks,
I would love
Stacy.
to share the website. I still cannot cannot share here, unfortunately. So I can send. Actually, let me send it to you, Scott, because I've got you. So let me send it to you. Boom. There you go.
Send in the chat there.
Yep.
Okay, I got it.
And then you get my email as well. Filling out a form, you'll be able to see prices for things as well on my current website. And just know, like, it's a sliding scale. If you feel like the numbers are like, I don't know if I can, just send me a message, you know? And I have lots of options for different types of readings. I've done really long readings that take a few hours. I've done readings that take 10 minutes. It all depends on where you want to go and what you want to do. So Scott's got my email and the
Yeah.
website.
figure out
Oh,
how to.
it's a pretty
Oh,
cool
there.
website. I built it myself.
At least I'll get around to building my own website. Where's the chat?
I just did it right here in our other our Zoomy here, Scott, and then you could copy and paste it. Yeah.
Yeah, and trying to figure out. Can't see the chat. Here.
Okay.
Chat. Okay, here we go. Paste. There we go. I think I got it in there. Oh, it's too long for the
The
chat.
let me I gotta condense those for you, Scott. I'm gonna condense those and make them really easy, not those. If you could link my website,
That's what I
is that
thought I had here.
this one is that was that's like I'm working on those right now for Matthew, for Janet, and for Stacy.
Oh,
And our other one,
oh,
just
okay.
Language Solutions 42 blog. That'll bring you right to the astrologer's corner. And it says, get
Okay, I see it.
now. Bada bing, bada boom. So for your information, everyone, I run an online consultancy. I am a cross cultural trainer, English trainer. So I run programs in Thailand, Japan, Europe, Taiwan. So that's what you're seeing on the website, and in the blog you'll find our. Actually, I can share. I always get like so confused when we got like a million things going on, and I forget that like I'm right here, everybody, and I'm live too. Look at me. So this is the blog website. Here's the astrologer's corner. You'll see it here. I made the website very, very large words. And yeah, you just click here, boom, get your reading, and gets you to a nice blank page. If you have a question, you can ask a question first, get information, and then we also have a direct form. If you're ready, you know exactly what you're looking for, that's all here as well. So that is Language Solutions 42. Thanks. Thanks, Scott.
Okay, so maybe some of our viewers know some people who want to study English
Yeah,
who
if you
are
want to study
not
English, you can
native
get
speakers.
a certificate, and yeah, you can go to other countries. They've got contracts all over the world. So if you want to go teach English
I
in
have to tell you,
Japan, Thailand, I'm your guy.
I have to tell you, Joseph, after teaching in classrooms for 20 years, I'm so glad I don't have to be an English teacher anymore. I mean, I loved it when I was doing it, but I got so burnt out on that.
Yeah,
That
business English is cool when you've got adults. Adults are really, really cool. I do
oh yeah,
understand.
I when when I for a short time I was a teacher at AUA. Are you familiar with that
Yeah,
language
yeah,
school?
yeah, sure.
And they sent me to some businesses where I taught the employee. That was really good. I really enjoyed my
Yep,
time with
adults
AUA.
really
Anyways,
cool.
I want to thank everybody who joined us in the chat. Didn't get quite the numbers I was hoping for, but that's okay. We hope to be doing this twice a month, and
Mhm.
Joseph suggested that we do it on full moons and also new moons. Um, but I don't know. I like doing things in sync with the planets, but I also think that it's good to keep the same time and every in the same day. So Sunday nights, 9:30 Eastern time, twice a month. That's what we'll be doing.
Perfect. I agree.
Okay, and
Yep.
so this was our first time. Maybe we're a little bit clunky getting things going, and but I'm hoping that Joe and I will fall into a rhythm, and we will be able to provide for you uh, insight and information that you're looking for.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Kimberly, I'll
Uh,
grab that. I'll send a message
Tartarian
to
Rising
Scott.
says hi for the first time, just found us. Thank you, Tartarian Rising. Uh,
Cool. Chat
welcome
with
here.
you.
We're just wrapping things up.
Chat with you later. This is
How
Kimberly.
about
I'll
that,
send this.
Joseph? Yeah, have you ever heard of Tartaria?
Is it a floating island in mega space?
No, it was a civilization that we believe spanned the Earth, the entire Earth. Almost every continent had Tartarian settlements, and it was very advanced. And like a lot of the buildings you see today, for example, um, city halls. If you look at city halls uh, in the United States, there are these elaborate, like Roman-looking buildings with big
Yeah.
columns. You know, like in Sacramento, California, there was nothing there really, but yet they had this amazing infrastructure that
Mm-hmm.
seemed to have been there already for hundreds of years. And like, how did they build this so quickly? And then something like 100 or 200 years ago, there was like Great Reset. There was a mud flood where mud seemed to come up out of the ground, buried a lot of these buildings. Um, and then there was like these orphans. Like, have you ever heard of the orphan trains in the United States, or they're shipping children, just shipping them across the country, and and
Yes, I
uh,
have. Yes, the
and
story
and
pretty
there would
cool.
be these big empty cities, and they would just fill them up. So yeah, Tartaria is very interesting. You should look into it.
Oh, cool. I'm always
And
into
they
new
were
things.
they were giants. Some of these Tartarians were giants. That's why some of these buildings you see have these enormous doorways. Yeah,
Cool.
and like Tartarian Rising says, hidden, cleared off the record.
Yeah.
But it's a lot Freemason founded buildings.
Yeah, yeah. Makes it
Oh, and
definitely.
real quick before we go, let me show you guys Sandy. Sandy's waking up. Got to show you my new puppy. I've had her for 4 days now.
Thanks, Kimberly.
She start there you go. This is Sandy, and she's just been terrorizing everybody. My poor poodle. I think they're finally starting to get along. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And hopefully we'll be back here, Joe and I.
Sure.
I like to call you, I would like to call you Josie. Is that okay?
Josie. A lot of people call me that. Like, yeah.
Josie. Josie. That's just such a great
It's
name.
a great name. It's a great nickname.
So Josie, and I'm Scott. This is Sandy, my new puppy.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we'll be back in 2 weeks.
2
So
weeks.
thanks a lot, Joe, for doing this, taking your time to be here.
Sure.
And
True pleasure.
welcome to my world.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Thanks, everybody. Super fun to be able to help and be part of this. And I will happily be back and happily will watch Sandy get a little bit bigger. So
Yeah.
see you, Scott. See you, Sandy. Bye,
All right.
everyone. So much. Thank you so much. Shining the light. Shining the
All
light.
right. Now I got to figure out how how to you can you hang on for just a minute after I sign out here?
Sure, sure, sure.
This takes me a little while to do. It's kind of
All
complicated,
right.
but
Thanks.
I have to come over here to the studio. Oh, and do you have a YouTube channel?
Currently it's in a lot of construction.
Uh,
So it's yes, but it's got other functions, so I need a little bit of
it's
time
mainly for your teaching, right?
for work. Yeah, it's mainly for teaching and work stuff right now.
Yeah,
So
so you should either make a new one or maybe convert that one over, change the name of it or something.
I'll make another one. I can always have two.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Well, I'm about to sign out, so I want to say thank you to everybody who showed up, And thank you to Joe. And I'll see you in a couple. Well, I'll be back next week for sure. And Joe will be back in 2 weeks. Good night,
Sure.
everybody. Thank you.
Thanks.